lovely Atlantis Scalar peeps. This is my weekly video, and I just wanted to share a funny story about Eric. I think he was about this age. I homeschooled my kids for a while through Laurel Springs in Ojai, California. Their curriculum was great. And every Thursday, I took them on a field trip, whether it was to Amtrak, the station, or the Esperson building and whatever, the zoo, Channel 2 news studio. And one day I decided to take them to the vet, our local vet, which is just down the street. And so the vet technician was lovely. She agreed to do that. And she took them to the back to show them different things, the operating suite and all that stuff. Then she held up a jar with a heart in it that was just full of worms. And she talked to all of the kids about how when you have a pet, you really need to take good care of them. And of course, that does include, giving them heartworm medicine and making sure that they get regular. So she said, yeah, this was a little kit cat that developed heartworm. And Eric was absolutely fascinated. His eyes got wider and wider. And she told the kids about what happens when you get heartworm, how you prevent it, and all that stuff. And Eric raised his hand and she said, yes, Eric. Is she okay now? Well, if your heart is in a jar, Eric, probably not so good. I thought that was so funny. I've got so many funny stories about him. I also want to let you know, guys, that I did a poll and also used dowsing rods to try to figure out the percentage of success for scalar services. 5%, which is very small, have an irrevocable contract. 4 to 5%, it waves between that. Only 8% have subconscious blocks where the scalar instructions are right there at your auric field. Can't push through because you have thoughts of disbelief, skepticism, lack of feeling worthy of getting better, etc. So I just want to let you know that really the success rate for scalar work is amazing. It really is. All right, I guess we'll read bedtime story time. Wish I could tuck you all in, but I can't. Okay, back to this. All right. And this is where Eric is at his funeral. The place was packed and I was above everybody. It was weird because it wasn't like I was above people looking at the tops of their heads or their hair. Even though I was above everything, when I thought about something, I would instantly see their face, boom, without being in front of them. Let's say I was thinking about my sister Annika when I was alive, but we weren't in the same room. I would be able to see her face in my mind. I was kind of like that. It was kind of like that, but unlike before I died, where I could imagine Annika's face based on a memory I had of her. Now I could be behind her and still be able to see her face right then and there. Not the memory of her face, but her real face in the present. That was freaky. I wasn't really comfortable with it, but I didn't know how to stop it either. So I just flowed with it because what choice did I have? I moved around the room a lot. I never could stay in one place when I was alive, true, and it was no different during the service. Sometimes I'd be in the center and then in front, and sometimes I sit by my family to give them what comfort I could. My funeral was the first time since my death that I was confronted by everyone's description of me, like who I was to them, etc. I was also confronted with their disbelief that I'd taken my own life. Not many people, other than my family, understood that at all because they didn't know the pain I had suffered throughout my life. Most of my family didn't need to ask why. They already knew. But there were a hell of a lot of whys floating around from other people in the audience. Why didn't I just ask for help? Why did he do it at home? Why didn't he see that what he did was inconsiderate? Why didn't he think about the horror his parents would feel when they found him? Tell me about that. I wanted to sit down and tell my story to everybody, but at the same time, I didn't feel like it was necessary. I didn't feel like I had to explain my perspective or correct their opinions. It's almost like I was Scrooge in A Christmas Carol, having to observe what was happening without interfering with it or changing things. Then came the eulogies. That's when the people in the audience became fixated on the speaker, so there were fewer voices coming at me. That part of the service was amazing because it was a time I felt like everyone was in unison. Everybody was connecting to the same thought. Everybody was coming together. There's not a word that can describe how the energy in the room made me feel. It was more overwhelmingly healing than anything I've ever experienced. When somebody stood up and spoke to the crowd and everyone was listening to what that person had to say, I understood how special and loved I was, something I couldn't see when I was alive. I'd never felt special, even though my family tried to make me see that I was. I just didn't know how to receive that. I was blocked from this knowledge, but the words of the eulogies destroyed that blockage, and I was finally able to connect to the love I couldn't connect to in life. I am so grateful for that. When my mom gave her eulogy, I felt like I needed to hold her up. I felt like I needed to help her finish it. It was the first time that I felt deeply sorry for more than a fleeting moment. Okay, I love you guys. Take care and have a wonderful week.